So, if you're interested in discussing the qualities that a caregiver can possess that benefits their ability to supervise a stroke recovery at home program, then this video is definitely going to show you some of the benefits and be beneficial to you. Hi there, I'm Dr. Kenneth Monaghan. I'm a university lecturer and I'm a neuroplasticity expert. I'm also the author of Lights, Mirrors, Action, a guide for transforming the lives of caregivers and stroke survivors. Now, I'm hugely passionate about trying to assist caregivers and stroke survivors to develop their home or adapt their home as an ideal place to carry out their physical rehabilitation after they've had a stroke. So, there's a brilliant resource called the Senior Helpers website. And in it, it discusses numerous traits that caregivers in general possess that make them very good at assisting patients in their own home. So these traits are as follows, and all of these, in my mind, all apply to stroke rehabilitation and to your stroke survivor. So the first one is trustworthiness, and to me, this is the most important. So your stroke survivor needs to have somebody beside them that they trust. And this makes sense because this trusting relationship means that both of you can discuss many of the issues, many of the therapies, many of the understandings that are needed to help that recovery process. The second trait is patience. And obviously, this makes sense because stroke recovery is slow. It's going to go on for a long period of time. I give the example of the famous actress Sharon Stone, who in 2001 had very severe stroke and took 7 years to get a full recovery afterwards. And she credits her recovery to the ability to carry out repetitive exercises for a long, long period of time. So patience is definitely going to be needed. As a caregiver, you must be dependable. So your stroke survivor is going to need a program and a daily timetable, and that timetable can change depending on how fatigued they feel when they wake up in the morning time. But you need to make sure you need to be available to assist them with that program at all times, and that dependability is very important. As is discussed in Lights, Mirrors, Action, confidence is a huge part of you being is a huge part of a stroke survivor's ability to be able to undertake a program at home. And you, as a caregiver, you have to instill confidence that neuroplasticity is going to take place, that recovery is still possible to take place no matter how long after a stroke has occurred. Rehabilitation will always benefit stroke survivors, and high repetitive exercises, if it's at all possible, it seems to be the advice from the UK, Irish, and American stroke associations. So confidence building is a big trait that caregivers possess. Your attentiveness and supportiveness towards your stroke survivor, again, is probably very obvious, but you need to be aware that your stroke survivor is going to struggle to have the confidence and the ability to become actively involved in their programs. So you need to be watching for that. You need to be all the time asking stroke survivors, giving them permission to decide what therapies work, what is their instinct of things that work for them and their instinct of things that don't work for them, and allow them to make these decisions. I mentioned before in previous videos my work with Dr. Frank, where when I met him at the very start, he was so frustrated because nobody would allow him to instinctively decide what therapies that he wanted to do. And he was right. He knew instinctively what therapies, and your stroke survivor will be the same. Next trait that's very important is obviously compassion. And a compassionate relationship means that, you're thinking about that person, you're allowing them to, discuss with you what's going on in their minds, and you're giving them the time and the space to be able to discuss issues with you. What's discussed in Lights, Mirrors, Actions are some very innovative therapies that we have researched in our Neuroplasticity Research Group in Atlantic Technological University. Now, what I've done is I've adapted those therapies to be carried out in a very cost-effective way in your own home. So mirror therapy can be carried out with a very simple $10 to $15 a euro mirror. cross-education effect can be carried out very simply with a 10 to $15 or euros piece of a resistance band. And sensory substitution can be facilitated with a very simple digital weighing scales that can be the same price. So your ability to be creative and to suggest to your stroke survivor how to be creative using these therapies is very important. Now, with everything in life, all the problems in life apparently happen because of poor communication. And I've mentioned on a previous video of how important it is for you to discuss at the start of a program with your stroke survivor what their beliefs are in the ability of them to recover. So being a good communicator, and this is described again in Lights, Mirrors, Actions, how to carry this out and how to have that conversation. Your flexibility is important as well, because your stroke survivor is going to need to carry out programs at different times, perhaps every day. And remember, fatigue becomes such an important aspect, and it's important that your stroke survivor does not get fatigued. So give them rests, encourage them to take naps and rests on a regular basis. And then finally, you being enthusiastic with your stroke survivor. So one of the, I've mentioned before, Dan Ariely, the psychologist who in Duke University, who's shown that when people's work is acknowledged and recorded, people keep going for longer. So you're relating this to stroke rehabilitation. You as a caregiver, your ability to acknowledge your stroke survivor, what they're doing, how many repetitions, how hard they're working, record and keep a record of everything that they're doing on a daily basis, that becomes hugely motivational for them to see over a period of time. And to be able to take simple measurements and record them and show that to your stroke survivor is also so important. So many of these traits will be easily identifiable in yourself before you ever read Lights, Mirrors, Actions. There's no need for you to read that, but you contain most of those traits already. We're just highlighting some of the things that perhaps are already there. But because you already have the ability to supervise somebody and ensure that they're safe when they're doing things. So you have that. You don't need healthcare professional qualifications to be able to stand beside somebody and make sure they don't get unbalanced, or sit beside somebody and give them confidence while they're using equipment. Now, what we discuss in Lights, Mirrors, Actions is the ability for you to instill a mental toughness into your stroke survivor and yourself. And some of the chapters will discuss how, using self-belief effects, using priming to kind of instill a kind of expectation of success into the program that you're trying to supervise. And then finally, your Sharon Stone, again, in her interviews with the newspapers and with television, she tells us that, one of the big things that happened to her that was a positive on her chances of recovering was that she changed her diet and her lifestyle to one of what she called good health. Now, good health for the majority of people is, hydrating well, eating 5 portions of fruit and vegetables well, going out for a walk if it's possible, keeping your brain active by reading, being around friends and family, and going and getting plenty of sleep, getting enough sleep so that you recover and your brain goes through that restorative and repair process. So caregivers, you can change the environment in your own home. You can make suggestions to your stroke survivor that diet and lifestyle may need to improve, and you're well capable of doing that. So you possess all of these abilities, you possess all of these traits. You can learn more about how to improve on those, because your biggest job is to explain things, explain understandings of things to your stroke survivor, and measure progress regularly, and be that safety valve for them, and to give them extreme confidence in what they're doing, and just to know that recovery is possible no matter how long after a stroke if therapy is continued. So if you would like to have some more information to help you with this video, then please go to my website, which is www.lightsmirrorsaction.com. And there you'll find some extra YouTube videos, some extra worksheets, PDF documents that may help you to understand better some of these traits that are in yourself, and help you to discuss with your stroke survivor to make that program have its maximum potential. Thank you very, very much for listening.